Hi friends. So today I kind of want to talk about an observation I've made about Japanese culture in regards to how I feel that the culture really promotes people to become more detail oriented and perfectionists in Japan. Of course, it's just my opinion based off of my observations, having worked here and also in a previous company in Japan. But I definitely feel like I've seen it, not just in work, but outside of Japan too, having lived here. And I definitely feel that I see it more compared to when I was living in the States for 23 years. And I think there are a few components that promote this. Uh, and I guess one of them is definitely that community mentality in Japan, because everyone is really focuses on, and the culture promotes a community mentality where everyone tries to work together and be the same. People tend to notice differences. There's even the famous quote in Japan: "The nail that sticks out gets hammered back in." The fact is, I think that in Japan, people are very good at noticing the nail that sticks out, the differences in each other. And so I think that also kind of promotes people to be uh, more sensitive to the differences, or sensitive to details, and also uh, makes people not just, I think, self-conscious, but also extra observant of others, uh, based off of more visual, surface level things, whether it's behaviors, operations, performances on how something is being done. I feel that there's a tendency for there to be a lot more focus and prioritization there, sometimes more than the actual output. And you definitely see this difference in prioritization of value sometimes in the work culture, I think, where sometimes people will be so focused on the detail, on the how something being done or how it looks while it's being done, that they forget why it's being done or what the bigger picture is sometimes. Um, and, you know, there's pros and cons for everything. There's not right or wrong. It's just, but this prioritization in the details, visualization of the process or the behavior, I think it makes people focus so much on the now that it sometimes makes them unable to think ahead into the future or the why of something that's being done. And also, I feel that could potentially prevent innovation in some sense, because they're unable to think beyond what is in front of them, and they're so focused on just improving that. And I think that's where the one of the pro is that Japan's kind of, they're known for having really good quality products. Is part of that is born from that focus on the now, on the how it's being done, the visual, the, yeah, that aspect. But in the con side, as I mentioned before, sometimes you miss out on things, or when people don't approach this uh, prioritization and values properly, it could take them the wrong way. Um, I mean, for example, those who've worked in Japan have also probably experienced this too. And um, I mean, it might not be unique to Japan, but sometimes people will be so focused on how they've done a certain work or operation, or so much that any variations of it is off limits, is wrong, and is corrected. And when you try to explain the bigger picture of why uh, operation is being done, the people who have been working on that same process over and over every day, they it's hard for them to accept that there could be a different way of doing it, or that there needs to be changes in the way that they're doing it because there are more improved tools out there that may make what they're doing not necessary anymore. Or it could also be that what they've been focusing on so much, the priorities have changed in general, and people don't need that as much anymore, and yet it's hard for them to let go of that. And I definitely see that in my work environment now sometimes. And sometimes I'll even have a situation where that becomes a person's value. And so in that sense, when you try to correct that, or not correct, try to improve upon what they've kind of perfected to some extent. And when I say improve, I don't mean to kind of improve how they're doing it because they've perfected it, but like improve in the more bigger picture, because that's part of their values. They take offense, and it's hard to convince, and they could people could become irrational or illogical, but I feel that sometimes you can't just dismiss that either. So anyway, that I guess I had that kind of experience recently that has made me think about all these things, that kind of led me to my first initial, I guess, overall observation that there definitely, I feel, are tendencies for detail-oriented perfectionists in Japan. But yeah, I guess in just one other example that I could think of is even when having conversations. I'm sure everyone has had this before, but when you're trying to talk about something and you may not have the right words or the right sentence structure, sometimes even in a casual conversation, you'll have a listener unable to move beyond what you said because it wasn't stated perfectly, when there is a bigger picture or a more exciting topic that it connects to, that you want to take the conversation to, and yet the person you're talking to won't allow you to move on because you did not use the right correct word that they need for you to use for them to be able to listen further into your story. And I've definitely experienced that in the States too, but I feel that that kind of tendency I've experienced a lot more in Japan. And sometimes it gets frustrating because I just like to talk, and I'm not the best speaker, but people, when I want to tell a fun story and people won't let me get there because they're very nitpicky, it just kind of makes me lose motivation in talking about the topic. And this is something I'm sure everyone experienced, but yeah, I definitely feel like I've had that a lot more in Japan. Of course, these are all rare no matter where I am, but definitely another example of what I've experienced in regards to detail-oriented and perfectionist mentality in Japan. But anyway, that's just a difference in culture. I'm also a lot more, I'm probably too kind of not detail-oriented, so that's something I need to work on, which this is a perfect environment for, and I definitely probably have a bias. But anyway, that's something I've observed and experienced and just thought I'd share today. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'll catch you guys up again another time. Ciao.